Howdy, readers. I'm Jason. This is Chapter and Verse, and my voice sounds very strange in my ears right now because I usually don't have the flaps down on my Russian hat, as I call it. But when I'm hunting mammoths, I like to keep my ears warm. So as some of you know, and if you don't know, welcome. I will let you know now. This March, this channel and Lukash over at Totally Pretentious and Alex over at bigalbooks, we are co-hosting an event in which people are invited to read at least one, some people are planning to read two, book, fiction or nonfiction, that is 800 pages or more. And we are calling it March of the Mammoths. It comes with a hashtag Marching Mammoths. And so what I wanted to do tonight was to just give you a few kind of possibilities, a few recommendations. If you're looking to participate but you're not sure what you want to read, I'm going to talk to you about one mammoth that I have read in the past. And then a couple other mammoths. One that I read half of and had to abandon, but I plan on rereading the thing in its entirety one day. And then another book, which is a 2-volume work. But I just wanted to put a few books on people's radars who are looking to participate in March of the Mammoths, but like I said, they're not really quite sure what they want to read. First, we are going to tackle the mammoth that I read probably close to 25 years ago now, and that would be this one here. So this is The Mists of Avalon by Marion Zimmer Bradley. This is a book, again, that I read when I was probably about 20 years old. And it was really, really important to me at the time. It has kind of lived large in my memory since then. However, what was it, maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I became aware of a news story that complicated my feelings. Not so much about this book, but about this writer. And if you're curious to know what all of that involves, I would suggest Googling her name, Marion Zimmer Bradley, and the word controversy, or Marion Zimmer Bradley and child abuse, or Marion Zimmer Bradley and sexual abuse. As it turns out, Marion Zimmer Bradley was not such a good person, not such a nice person, not such a good parent. It sounds like she had rather a dark soul. But the book itself is magnificent. I still remember reading it very clearly. This was the first book of this size that I had ever read. And for a number of years, it remained the only book of this size that I had read. I remember listening to Lorena McKennett while I was reading this the entire time. It's pretty difficult for me to listen to music now while I read, but once upon a time, I had to listen to music while I read, and it had to be music that felt appropriate to the book. And so if you are familiar with Lorena McKennett, that will give you some sense of what reading this novel is like, what the experience of it is like. But it's essentially a retelling of the Arthurian myth from the point of view of the women involved. So Guinevere, Morgane, Morgause. New York Times Book Review called it a monumental reimagining of the Arthurian legends. Reading it is a deeply moving and at times uncanny experience. And I would echo that, actually. So the book is almost 900 pages long. And I would highly, highly recommend this to anyone looking to find a mammoth for March. Now, along the lines of the controversy, I wanted to point out that there's a really tremendous video addressing that. Not only the controversy in the book, but about the content creator's complicated relationship with the book, having discovered the controversy. And that video is by Vendi from Caught Between Pages, and I will put a link to her really terrific video in the description box below. Next, I wanted to share with you and encourage you to have the courage to pick up Fathers and Crows by William T. Vollmann. So this is a novel, like I said before, that I read half of. I mean, I literally read half of it. And it was for a kind of book club that I had in the past, and this was the book that killed that book club. There are books that do kill book clubs, and this was one. I found the first half of this novel really frustrating at times, but also really stirring at times. Vollmann has a way of somehow plunging you completely back into the past, and managing somehow to kind of keep a modern voice going the whole time. It's a really strange, really violent, really kind of lovely novel. Also one of the most difficult things I've ever attempted. This might be my March of the Mammoths selection for next year. But in the meantime, for those of you who have never read Vollmann and are curious about kind of epic treatments of history, this is one in what he calls his 7 Dreams saga. So one of 7 planned novels, I think 5 or 6 of which have actually been written thus far. Argyle is one, The Dying Grass I think is another, The Rifles, The Ice Shirt. So yeah, so there's 1 or 2 left that he still needs to write to complete the project. But it's pretty tremendous. It's audacious, it's terrifying, and it is intimidating, which is the whole point of this project. We wanted to create a readathon that encouraged people to choose books that kind of languish because they're a little bit off-putting, owing to their subject matter, owing to their length. And lastly, I wanted to recommend to you, now I have not read these. They have been on my shelf for a long time. But again, I mean, that's the whole point of March of the Mammoths, to find that foolish bravery to finally pick some of these books up. So this is a 2-volume biography of the poet William Butler Yeats. Okay, and Yeats has been kind of on my mind lately. My wife Kelly, whose channel is Books I'm Not Reading, and Brian from Bookish have been carrying on a conversation over Voxer about William Butler Yeats' poetry, and as somebody who's read quite a bit of it in the past and who's reasonably familiar with some of Yeats' kind of biography and whatnot, I have tried to kind of help them navigate their way through some of Yeats' work. I'm not sure how helpful I've been. I might have made things worse for him. Who knows? But yeah, if you're into poetry and if you're a fan of Yeats, this would be a good choice, I think, for March of the Mammoths. And it'd be fitting given how much poetry is being discussed on BookTube right now. But the first volume is called The Apprentice, Mage, and volume 2 is The Arch Poet. So yeah, a big 2-volume biography of a late Victorian poet, that would fit the bill. If you're planning to participate in March of the Mammoths, please let me know in the comments below if you haven't already. In the comments below, either mine or Lukash's or Alex's announcement videos. I will link to those announcement videos in the description box below. And I just wanted to encourage you to do just that. Participate. Find a gigantic book that you have been meaning to read for a long time and read it with us this March. And if you've got a channel, make one video, make multiple videos, kind of charting your progress through it in March. This is going to be a lot of fun, I think. And I think some people will discover the rewards for the very first time of moving through a work that is that epic in scope, that ambitious, that dense, that intricate, and I, for one, am thrilled to get started. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in another video very soon. Before you know it, in fact. Adios.